Hello and welcome to the 2021 Light the Night Gala program premiere, benefiting Bryland's Feet Foundation. My name is Jason Stansel. I will be your host for the evening, and joining me is Brittany Williams, founder of Bryland's Feet Foundation. Throughout the program, we will be announcing the donation raffle winners at the bottom of your screen. Donors are automatically entered into the raffles for donations of $50 and above, $100 and above, $250 and above, and $500 and above. And if you haven't already made your contribution, don't worry, there's still time, and you could win some awesome prizes.
That's right. I would like to start by saying thank you to everyone who has stepped up to lead a team for our virtual fundraiser, to everyone who has donated so far, to our partners at FundWell, everyone that came out to the Canby, and our amazing sponsors.
Well, Brittany, it's hard to believe it's been almost a year since the last virtual fundraiser. So for those viewers who are not familiar with Bryland's Feet Foundation, can you explain about the organization and what it does and what lymphedema is?
Absolutely. Bryland's Feet Foundation is the first and only nonprofit in the world specific to pediatric lymphedema. Lymphedema is a progressive disease currently without a cure that causes chronic swelling in parts of the body where the lymphatic system either didn't develop correctly or where trauma or damage has occurred, such as cancer treatment. While there is no cure for lymphedema, there is treatment to manage the disease. Unfortunately, the treatment options are expensive and often not covered by medical insurers. Here is a video to better explain my personal connection to lymphedema and why Bryland's Feet Foundation was created. This is my daughter Bryland, and she is my extremely personal connection to lymphedema. When Bryland was a baby, she was diagnosed with infant onset primary lymphedema. It wasn't until her first checkup at 1 month old that we noticed some puffiness on the top of her foot. Her doctor didn't really know what it was or what was causing it, but I knew that I wanted to find answers because it was abnormal swelling. We were then sent to several different specialists, different doctors. We did genetic testing, different scans. Everything came back saying that she was fine. And throughout this whole process and these 10 months of trying to figure out what was going on with her, the swelling started to progress up her leg. In my mind, as her mother, I felt like I was failing because whatever was going on with her was getting worse. And I couldn't find answers to help her. It was a really tough time. And my husband and I were scared. Our whole family was scared. When she was 11 months old, we flew across the country to Boston Children's Hospital where she was officially diagnosed. We left that appointment feeling frustrated because we didn't really get any guidance as to what to do next. Of course, we went and initially searched on the internet and looked for answers or more information on lymphedema. And we saw some pretty scary photos pop up. And it was from really that point on that I decided that wasn't going to be our daughter. I was going to do everything in my power to make sure that she was able to live the healthiest, happiest life possible. And she wasn't going to be someone that eventually be in a wheelchair. I've heard stories of not just children, but adults who have had recurring infections, and those infections are life-threatening, and the answer was to amputate. And as I continued to immerse myself into the lymphedema community, and I heard countless stories from other families who were struggling with obtaining treatment because of the financial aspect, it broke my heart. And that's where I initially had the thought of giving back and wanting to do something to help these kids and families. the financial aspect of this disease is huge, and it is a big burden on families. And I hope that each and every one of our sponsors, donors, volunteers, everyone that has been in some way a part of Bryland's Feet Foundation understands that you are making a positive impact on the lives of these children. You are giving them an opportunity that they would otherwise not have, and you are giving them the opportunity to live their healthiest, happiest lives.
I love that you've used your experience to help others and create a resource for them that wasn't already there. How far has this company grown in just 3 short years?
We've evolved a lot from the initial thought of just being a garment fund to children in the US. We now offer assistance for custom garments, bandaging supplies, therapy sessions, surgical procedures, and pneumatic pumps. We also have virtual sessions with certified lymphedema therapists. And my favorite, Camp Watch Me, the first and only summer camp for pediatric lymphedema patients in the US. To date, Bryland's Feet Foundation has provided treatment for over 80 children in 18 different countries. The primary treatment is bandaging and custom garments, which need to be replaced every few months. So the support that we provide is continual.
That's amazing to hear. To those of you watching, if you haven't already done so, please make a donation to help Bryland's Feet make a difference in the lives of these children living with this disease. Let's take a look at photos of the few of BFF's international recipients who without this organization would not have received the necessary treatment and education.
Some of those cases are pretty severe. And if I can convey one thing, it would be that this disease does not present itself in the same way on each patient. Many times we have friends or even family members look at Bryland and say, this disease can't be that bad. She's smiling, playing soccer, she looks like a healthy kid. It is important to understand that Bryland's physical appearance of swelling is mild because she has had years of consistent daily treatment.
We're grateful to everyone who's helping BFF provide those same results to even more children. You know, one of the greatest things about Bryland's Feet Foundation is the way you support the parents. What aspect of that was really baked into your management?
So in order to properly support these children, we also have to consider who their support system is. Sending the supplies for treatment or helping with financial aspects is just one part in the fight against this disease. The parents or other family members' physical and emotional journeys have to be addressed. As a parent, I understand their struggles of frustration, feeling overwhelmed, and even anger that comes with lymphedema.
Let's hear from one of the parents whose daughter has lymphedema and has been receiving support from Bryland's Feet Foundation.
Hi, my name is Allie Krilsky, and I am the mother of a 12-year-old Madeline with primary lymphedema. She got diagnosed with primary lymphedema about 1.5 years ago. She went from being a healthy, active child to being a child that required constant medical attention and treatment. We quickly exhausted every medical avenue that we knew of to try to get her diagnosed, treated, and fixed. We were at the end of our rope, emotionally, physically, and financially. The day that I got the call from Brittany, from Bryland's Feet, we had just walked out of our 3rd MRI where they were trying to figure out what was wrong with Madeline. and I was sitting in the parking garage crying so hard that I couldn't drive. And I picked up the phone, and the love and support that Brittany showed me that day made everything seem like it was going to be all right. She quickly jumped into action. She listened to everything that we had been through, everywhere we were going, and understood that we couldn't financially keep up on the path that we were going. She first offered to pay for Madeline to have a pump delivered to our house so that she could receive treatment in the middle of COVID. She then helped us through the process of decongestive therapy and sent us a giant box of wraps and everything we would need to continue her care while we navigated the process. We then found out that Madeline could get custom garments, again at a huge financial cost, which we didn't know we could afford. After helping us through the process, she also offered to pay for them. And that day that Madeline got the garments in the mail was probably the happiest I had seen my kid in a year, because her socks were now comfortable. She was out of wraps that she had been wearing for 9 weeks. And it gave her the freedom to be a kid again. Myself, Madeline, and our family are forever grateful to Brittany and Braylon's Feet for all the love and support that they have given us over the year, financially, inviting us into a community and into a network of people that understand what we deal with on a daily basis, and teaching us that Madeline is still a healthy child at 12. She just has lymphedema. And with the continued support of Braylon's Feet, we can manage and we can treat and we can try to find the best quality life for our child moving forward. Thank you, Brittany, for everything that you've done.
The impact that's being made through Braylon's Feet Foundation is remarkable. In order for this organization to keep providing these resources, we need your help. Please keep the donations coming. I think now would be an excellent time to introduce them to your partner at Camp Watch Me.
Joining us now is Betty Westbrook. She is a certified lymphedema therapist, a physical therapist assistant, the voice of Lymphedema podcast, and if you don't already subscribe to the podcast, please do so. It is a fantastic resource. But most importantly, she is the director of Camp Watch Me.
Hi everybody, I'm excited to be here tonight to tell you more about Camp Watch Me and to share why Braylon's Feet Foundation is such an important organization.
Betty, can you explain to us how Camp Watch Me got started?
Yeah, looking back now, I can really see the importance in that first camp. I usually get emotional when I talk about it, so I'll try not to cry. Camp Watch Me started because of two things: Lymphedema podcast and a boy named Devin. And if there's time later, I'll tell you a little bit more about Devin. But for now, I'll just say that it was the power of community that brought Sharon, the founder of Expand the Socks, onto the podcast for an interview. And that interview sparked the fire for me to serve the children with lymphedema. Here's how that happened.
And in Italy, every summer, there is a children's camp for children that have lymphedema, where I believe it's 50 to 75 children go to camp in northern Italy for a week or two, and all of them have lymphedema, and they don't feel that they're odd man out and they look different because all the kids have lymphedema. Why don't we have something like that here in America?
I want to say you're talking to the wrong person, but you're probably talking to the right person, because I'm about to cancel all my summer plans and buy as many water balloons as I can find and as many kids as I can find that have lymphedema and invite them to my house. And 75 days later, we were at a cabin in Oklahoma with our first 5 families for Camp Watch Me.
Camp in 2020 was canceled due to COVID, but you were able to have 2 sessions in 2021. Let's take a look at what went on at camp just a few months ago. It seems that everyone who attended had such a great time. Was it everything you expected it to be?
It was everything and more. I got to see the work that I had been doing through BFF in person, and I got to hug kids who we had supported through the foundation and whose journeys I had been following for years. I also got to see my own daughter make incredible bonds with kids just like her. One night, Brylan was getting treatment done with her CLT Karen, and I had mentioned how great her right leg was looking. And she had had some extra swelling from travel that we were trying to get under control. When I said that, she looked at me and said, "But I don't want my right leg to look like my other leg, because if it does, I can't come to camp." That moment really hit my heart and made me realize what an impact we were making.
Brittany's right. Camp was everything I had hoped for and more. Similarly to her perspective, as a lymphedema therapist, I'm often in work mode, and I forget that lymphedema can be really scary for other people. Most of the volunteer CLTs that came to camp had never treated a kid, but they willingly volunteered their time to come to camp. So good, in fact, that at some point, every family came up to me and just told me, "Thank you for pairing me with that exact therapist, because they're a perfect fit for my kid." I'm so proud of the CLTs for doing something new and exceeding all of our expectations.
Camp Watch Me had lymphedema therapists and young adult patients volunteer their time. Let's hear from Mary Casselberg, one of those patient volunteers.
Hello, my name is Mary Casselberg. I am a lymphedema patient of 12 years. I was diagnosed at 12 years old, and I participated in the second annual Camp Watch Me through Violence Feet Foundation this past summer. As a child, getting diagnosed with a chronic condition that is very rare is incredibly isolating. I had a lot of bouts with depression, anxiety, feeling like no one really understood me before I came to where I am today of fully accepting my condition and really loving myself for what I've learned through it. To be a counselor, a volunteer at Camp Watch Me, I was able to gain healing that I never thought I needed. I had already been through it, I had already accepted it, but then to watch these kids and to see them do normal things that kids do, running around and playing catch, all with their multicolored stockings, some with lymphedema in their hands, some within their legs, and no one had to look at each other and ask what was wrong. I had a great conversation with 3 of them about what you say when you don't feel like talking about it. That's something that I had to learn through trial and error as I grew, but these kids have each other. We have been able to form a community of children who can grow up together and hit those different landmarks and those different worries and have their friend to call, or, once a year meet at camp, growing older, each getting different experiences under their belt, but having each other to do it through. I am incredibly honored to be part of Camp Watch Me, and without Brittany and Betty, without Brylan's Feet beginning as a way to actually pay attention to the children who suffer, this wouldn't have ever happened. So I am so excited for what the future has in tail. I hope that I can be a part of it for as long as necessary, or as long as y'all will let me, shall I say, because it was hands down the most gratifying and coolest experience of my life. So thank you so much, Betty and Brittany. I hope that everyone watching this can see the passion and the love that I have for those with lymphedema and really understands that this community is only stronger by voices speaking out and reaching out to each other. We are all going through the same thing, whether we get diagnosed at 60 or 11, and to really have each other throughout the whole thing is an incredible gift.
We absolutely adore Mary and Sydney, our other patient volunteer. One of the really great things about camp was that it was designed to benefit each person that attended, and it did.
It was interesting to see the families come in on that first day thinking they knew all they needed to know about lymphedema, and then by that last day they realized just how much more there was to learn. Let's hear an audio clip from Elise Cantu, a doctor of physical therapy and one of our volunteer CLTs from this past summer at camp.
I learned more as a therapist about treating lymphedema, period, but especially pediatric lymphedema at Camp Watch Me, that I immediately was able to take and clinically apply than I ever have at any continuing education experience ever, save for my original CLT training. It was out of this world. And Brittany, I don't know if you did that on purpose, if you and Betty did that on purpose, but it was unbelievable, truly.
Wow, that is truly a compliment to the program and experience you two have created. Now let's hear from a few of the parents.
For me, it was important because when we did a Zoom call a couple months ago, I knew I didn't know as much as I needed to know for Allie. And so I decided that I should come as well because Nikki was signed up originally.
So Allie has been diagnosed for 2 years. She's had it her whole life. She didn't start midway through or anything. It just took 5 years to get a diagnosis. But what was important for me to come to camp, because we already have a great support system back home with our team that we have assembled. And so that kind of information wasn't super important to me because I thought we were getting all the adequate training and information that we needed what I was most looking forward to before camp was meeting other kids and other families and having that support system, because we literally don't know anybody else with lymphedema, much less another kid that Allie can relate to. But now that after camp is over, while I still am so glad we have that aspect of it, I realize how much I didn't know through the team we have assembled, and how many more resources are out there, and how many more things I can be doing to actively help her manage her treatment.
We entirely rearranged our schedule to make this a priority. We're in the middle of a move, our house, we're packed out, but this was so important to us because, number one, for me, I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn more and get more involved about wrapping and how to take the best care of my daughter, because there's not as many resources available. And two, for Charlotte, for her, it's so important for her to see other kids that wear compression just like her, and she doesn't feel so alone.
Breathtaking. For our first camp experience in general, I couldn't have asked for more. From a camp for our children with lymphedema, I also couldn't have asked for more. The education, the community, the support, the resources, it's just, there's not a single thing that I could think of that they could have improved. So it was amazing, the entire experience.
What an amazing opportunity for parents. Betty, I would love to hear one of your favorite stories from camp.
That's easy. It's always my favorite time to talk about Devin. And I was so excited to get started that one of the parents asked me, "Who are you exactly?" after our first session had already begun. And I got the chance to tell them about Devin and how I became a pediatric lymphedema therapist. And basically, when Devin came into my clinic, he was 11 years old. He had his bandages hot glued around his leg, and his mom had told me that she just didn't have the time or the extra money to go down to the store and buy the tape that was needed as part of his bandaging supplies. Further in talking, I learned that the school had decided Devin took too long walking from one class to another, so they decided to get a wheelchair and have Devin pushed from class to class by a teacher's aide. And then that teacher's aide got tired of taking Devin to the restroom so frequently, and they had a talk with the mom because Devin started to have accidents where he would pee his pants at school. And they really thought for an 11-year-old acting out like that wasn't appropriate. But if you know anything about lymphedema, you know that that lymphatic fluid leaves your body through urination and usually frequent. So his lymphedema became worse, he had some infections, and he started to get some bladder infections on top of all of that. And Devin's story is really special to me because I pleaded with his mom. She didn't have the time or the money to take him to camp that first summer, and I pleaded, please, let me be his adult. He can come be with me. I just want him to meet some other kids and learn about lymphedema. Well, she never really gave me an answer, and I never really heard back from her until I got back from camp that summer. She had called a few days into camp and left a message at my clinic office and had asked, "Hey, when are you coming to get Devin? He's so excited about going to camp. When are you coming to pick him up?" Sadly, I haven't seen Devin since. I haven't heard from him. I've never been able to treat him again, and I don't know where he's at or if he's doing okay. If I had the opportunity again, I would love to just tell Devin, the next time someone says, "You can't walk to the bathroom, you're too slow, or you shouldn't try to do this," I want him to look them dead in the eye and say, "Watch me." And that's because he just needs some time to do it. And all these kids who have lymphedema, that's all they really need, is someone to just encourage them and to watch them do something they've not done before. And that's the story that I always love to share at camp. And after I shared that, that mom looked at me and she was like, "I'm so sorry I asked. I wasn't ready to cry this early." And then for the rest of the week, anytime I would get up to even announce it was time for a break or lunch or something, she would say, "Are you about to make us cry? I don't have any tissues yet." So that's my favorite part, is getting to share about Devin, but also it's kind of funny that she was then on the fence the rest of the week that I was going to just make people cry on a whim. I don't really have that talent.
is there anything else you want to share about Camp Watch Me?
Yes. So Brittany and I are so excited to announce that Camp Watch Me 2022 will be in Estes Park, Colorado this summer. And the dates are going to be June 7th through the 11th for our first session. And that first session is free to one kid and one caregiver. Session 2 is going to be June 9th through the 13th. And that's for our camper alumni group. And they get to come back and meet some old friends from camp and meet some new kids from the first session that will be there as well.
Registration for Camp Watch Me 2022 will open November 1st. Spots are first come, first serve.
Betty, thank you again for joining us and for everything that you do for the lymphedema community.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Brittany, we have covered so much tonight, but before we end, I want to talk about the lack of awareness and education in the lymphedema community that has such a negative impact on the patients.
Unfortunately, lymphedema is not a well-known disease, and that is true in regards to the general public as well as medical professionals. It is a disease that is often misdiagnosed and underdiagnosed simply because of a lack of education. Because doctors are unfamiliar, misinformation is spread, such as it will eventually go away or there's nothing you can do about it, which harms the lymphedema community because it allows for patients to go untreated for years and sometimes decades, which then results in irreversible damage. This is a chronic and progressive disease, and implementing a treatment plan is crucial to successful management. Children who do not receive treatment are more prone to recurrent and life-threatening infections, psychological issues, skin complications, orthopedic problems, and eventual disability.
Brittany, I know there are so many people out there that are so grateful for the efforts that BFF puts forth in spreading awareness and creating education.
Absolutely. And as we come to an end, we have a few of our warriors that would like to say thank you to everyone for joining our mission and supporting children fighting lymphedema.
Thank you for supporting Bryland's Feet so kids like me could go to Camp Watch Me. And my favorite part of Camp Watch Me was to meet other kids like me that had lymphedema.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for helping me.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I have lymphedema. I want to thank Bryland's Feet for helping children like me fight this. Thank you.
Thank you for helping children like me fight lymphedema.
Feed the helping kids with lymphedema.
Thank you so much for helping children like me fight lymphedema. Thank you for helping children like me fight lymphedema.
Thank you for helping children like me fight lymphedema.
The virtual fundraiser will be live until midnight tonight, and the winning team will be announced tomorrow. As our program comes to an end, we want to thank each of you for joining us. And we want to thank everyone who participated in the fundraiser to support an organization that, in my opinion, goes above and beyond for the youngest lymphedema warriors.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Jason, for once again hosting with me. We hope that you enjoyed your time with us tonight. So until next year, good night, everyone.